Family Audit Distance Learning. Section 3. How the certification process works. How the certification process works. The certification process develops through 3 consecutive phases. The certification process, the maintenance process, the consolidation process. An organization can obtain the Family Audit certificate in 6 months, and after 3 years, subject to an annual audit of the implementation status of the measures set out under Corporate Plan, can receive the Family Audit Executive Certificate. Following these first 3 years, a Family Audit Executive Certified organization can activate a further 3-year process named the Maintenance Phase. At the conclusion of the maintenance process, the organization can choose to continue the pathway with a further consolidation process, developed by means of 2-year cycles. Actors involved. The actors involved in certification are the certification body. The Autonomous Province of Trento is the certifying body for the Family Audit Standard and owner of the brand. The certification process is managed by the Provincial Agency for Social Cohesion and more specifically the Family Audit Office. The Audit Council, established by the Autonomous Province of Trento for safeguarding the quality of the family audit process. The Family Audit Consultant. The Family Audit Evaluator. The organization, which appoints an internal audit contact person, forms the Management Working Group and the Internal Audit Working Group. The first figure the organization comes into contact with is the consultant, who supported in carrying out the work of participatory analysis concerning the present balancing policies and works to clearly and precisely bring out the needs of employees and any unspoken needs, and in drafting the corporate plan. Within their role, the consultant coordinates and supports the organization in this first phase, and in particular works with the Management Working Group and the Internal Audit Working Group. The Management Working Group consists of those who hold decision-making roles. Operates as a steering group in the certification process. The Management Working Group meets 3 times together with the consultant and the internal audit reference person, with responsibilities for guidance and approval of the corporate plan. Internal Audit Working Group, composed of a minimum of 6 and maximum of 15 persons. Reflects the composition of the organization staff, roles, age, genders, care loads. This group meets for purposes of gathering the needs for balancing and to identify the balancing measures that will be inserted in the corporate plan. Alongside the Management Working Group and Internal Audit Working Group, within the organization, there is also the Internal Family Audit Contact Person, who is the internal reference figure for employees, plays a technical administrative role in managing the process within the organization, maintaining contact with the certification body. In a second moment of the certification phase, it is the figure of the evaluator who intervenes within the organization. This is a professional whose responsibility for with verifying the conformity of what is contained in the corporate plan with the Family Audit Standard and with monitoring its status of implementation over time. The evaluator enters the organizations annually and, if deemed appropriate, proposes and identifies recommendations and/or improvement actions with respect to the corporate plan. The work carried out in the first 6 months leads the organization to draw up a first corporate plan, which will be implemented over the next 3 years. Before the corporate plan can be implemented, it must be evaluated by the evaluator, presented to the Audit Council, approved by the Audit Council. Guidelines. The phases, actors and instruments of the certification process are regulated by the Family Audit Certification Guidelines. In 2016, the Provincial Council of Trento approved, with the approval of Resolution number 2082 of 24th November 2016, the guidelines for family work balance in public and private organizations for the implementation of the family audit. The guidelines describe and regulate the certification process of the family audit standard, the roles and tasks of the certifying body, the audit board, the accredited consultants and evaluators, as well as the private and public organizations that intend to effectively apply the process. At 6 years from the first guidelines, given the innovations in the area of family and the new issues emerging in the world of work and management of organizations, a redefinition became necessary, which in November 2016 led to publication of the updated guidelines. The core of the certification process, the corporate plan. A complete corporate plan bears on different reference areas and sectors, responding to the needs and requirements of a differentiated group of people, acting in specific network reference context and in relation with it. Certification is then developed through the shared construction of the corporate plan and its translation into concrete measures. The corporate plan is the planning document for the balancing measures that the organization intends to implement through the family audit certification process. The plan is structured on the basis of 6 macro domains, divided into an additional 11 fields of investigation and action. Organization of work, hours and leaves, work processes, places of work. Corporate culture, management of diversity, equality and inclusion. Management responsibilities, staff development. Communication, information and communication tools. Corporate well-being, people caring. Employee and family services. Financial contributions and benefits. Local area well-being. Service orientation with a view to local well-being. Corporate social responsibility. New technologies. ICT service orientation for organizational management aspects and corporate well-being. The corporate plans of medium and large organizations must contain at least one activity for each of the 11 fields of inquiry, while the corporate plans of small organizations must contain at least one activity for each of the 6 macro domains. For each activity, the following are indicated: the person responsible, the status, the timing of implementation, the description, the expected results, the indicators relating to the results, an update field, permitting annual recording of progress. Macro domains and fields of inquiry. 1. Organization of work. This macro domain is the one where organizations invest more resources, aware of the strategic importance represented by the introduction of actions that directly affect the modality of work and the time of their personnel. Examples of balancing devices: flexible hours, R-bank, parental leave, part-time, personalized hours, leave management. Accommodating meeting schedules, task planning, teamwork. Video conferencing, remote work, teleworking, smart working. Two, company culture, management of diversity, equality and inclusion. These concern the initiatives aimed at both management learning and staff development. They are actions that foster development of an organizational culture attentive to balancing through growth of managerial know-how and skills in work-life balancing, in personnel selection and systems of non-discriminatory evaluation for benefiting from differences in gender. Examples of balancing devices: management training in the organizational culture on issues of work-life balance. In management of diversity, equality and inclusion, age management. Personnel training and management, non-discriminatory selection and evaluation policies. Management, plans for long absences, parental leave, maternity, with specific training and mentoring programs. 3. Communication. This macro domain includes all the tools and means of management introduced within organizations for the promotion of more effective internal and external communication, aimed at this concern fostering staff operation and developing knowledge of the family audit standard and its effects. Examples of balancing devices: internal and external communication tools, internal guides, company bulletin board, dedicated family audit area on company intranet and website. Staff satisfaction questionnaire surveys. Climate investigations. Role of the internal family audit contact person. Four. Corporate wellness people caring. This macro domain includes all the benefits and services introduced by organizations in favor of their personnel and their family members. Examples of balancing devices: monetary contributions, study bursaries. Financial benefits: benefits, insurance, medical services, services for the employees and family members, partner agreements and discounts, time-saving services, company daycare, parenting support services. 5. Local area well-being. This macro domain includes initiatives and services designed, introduced by the organization, planned and structured with a view to promoting local well-being and the social responsibility of the company, activities that act with different aims and ways on the external area. Examples of balancing devices: extension of company services and activities in the local area, opening of employee corporate well-being services to external users, rate concessions for families of clients, membership in a family district and implementation of projects in collaboration with other entities of the area. Synergy between certified organizations, activation of partnerships on themes of work-life balance or related. Organization of and participation in seminars and events aimed at citizens. Six. New technologies. This macro domain includes the introduction of instruments and technologies that facilitate and support the work of staff. Instruments of smart working, flexi working, teleworking, management software, provision of technological material and connections, remote connection to the company server. Use of work-sharing instruments. Use and provision of technological material and equipment, hardware, software, in support of employees. Possibility of remote connection. From an analysis of data on the implementation of plans as seen in the graph, it emerges that the macro domain with the greatest concentration of activities is organization of work, 1,651 measures, and on average, each plan contains almost 7 measures concerning this macro domain. Following this are the macro domains of corporate culture, 1,249 measures, on average 5.13 per plan, and corporate wellness, 1,142, on average 4.69 per plan. Communication, 912, and local area well-being, 856, see the insertion of just over 3.5 measures in each plan. The number of measures foreseen for the new technologies macro domain is lower, 518, although it should be borne in mind that many of the activities foreseen in the organization of work and communication macro domains often have contents related to the team of new technologies. Examples are the introduction of teleworking, smart working systems, and development of a newsletter on work-life balance issues. To present further details on the types of actions put in place by the audited organizations, the following graph shows the most diffuse activities in the macro domain, organization of work, which results as the most relevant for the development of corporate policies on balancing. The most diffuse activity in this macro domain is the introduction or enhancement of the possibility of remote working for the organization's personnel. 215 actions, of which 111 concern home-based teleworking, 45 smart working projects, 43 mobile teleworking, and 16 teleworking in telecenters. Following this are inbound-outbound hours flexibility for the organization's employees, with 123 actions. Measures aimed at favoring staff interchangeability for better management of absences, 82 actions. Regulation of hours according to work-life balance criteria, 82. Work process review, 77. And the possibility of accessing to remote working tools, 67. Instead, as concerns the other macro domains, the two most adopted measures are measures of in-house communications, 330 actions, and external communications, 215 actions. Following are family-friendly partner agreements and measures linked to staff development, employee training, team retention and management training on issues of balancing. Analytical and evaluative tools for family audit. The main tools set out for this purpose are the data collection template, the flexibility index, and the benchmark analysis. The data collection template is an electronic spreadsheet through which each organization involved in the process provides information concerning more than 30 indicators relating to their personnel. The data collected through the template are useful for the consultant, for detection of any critical issues and to propose well-reasoned actions in the corporate plan, for the evaluator and the audit council for a check on the coherency of the proposed actions and any on improvements achieved, for the organizations to evaluate the trend of variables over time and compare the level of the organization with other similar ones. For the certifying body, to monitor the overall progress of the process. The flexibility index is a summary measure that permits evaluation of progress over time in the degree of flexibility offered by the organization. It is constructed by combining the following values: percentage of employees with flexible hours, percentage of employees with hour banks, percentage of employees with personalized hours, percentage of employees with teleworking, smart working. The graph shows the evolution of the index value and permits understanding of which of its components have greater bearing in determining it. The different actors in the process, consultants, evaluators, internal reference figures, can use different tools of comparison of company performance in the area of work-life balance. The activity of benchmarking is defined, in fact, as the comparison of one's own processes and outcome indicators with the best practices of other organizations. In the benchmarking process, management identifies the best companies in its own sector or in other sectors that adopt similar processes and compares the results and processes of the target reference with their own. The graphic summary of the data collection template presents the data for each of the proposed indicators in comparison with the average values registered by the other family audit participant organizations and with the mean recorded by similar organizations. This comparison can be carried out for 4 groups of organizational employees: men, women, men with care responsibilities, women with care responsibilities. Thanks to the reading of the data, the organization's managers can check, with respect to which indicator, there is the need for interventions to close performance gaps. Deepen the analysis to determine which employee group suffers most from any gap. The impact of flexibility measures. The processing carried out on the data on personnel provided annually with the data collection template registers improvements in the indicators linked to measures of flexibility introduced and activated by the family audit organizations. The following graph illustrates that all the indicators concerning flexibility opportunities and part-time opportunities for employees have improved and increased over time. While, again, in the improvement perspective, there is a decrease in the indicators for sick days and average hours of overtime.